Brands need to have that social media presence, but please don't just throw a website up there and ignore it, because the last thing a Hispanic millennial wants is to be ignored. So if you're interacting with these Hispanic millennials, make sure you're speaking to them. You're not just leaving them out there to dry.
So how do we make these brands relevant for the Hispanic consumer as well? That's how, that's kind of our motto, and that's our main motivation, and that's what we use as a base for all our strategies and our activations.
Thrown around. For us, day to day, it's really important that everything we do and everything that we create is social and mobile first. And we're really working with all of the brands for them to understand the value that social and mobile provide, but also how important it is in order to really connect with this audience that is there. That is their number one opportunity to get, to connect with content.
So never forget that it's not only the media mix, but it's also how do we design our communication strategy? What is the big idea behind whatever we want to communicate to them? And in order to really make this connection and become and build a relationship with this consumer.
And we take a different approach. We're taking a maybe a more modern approach now. So we're used to be more traditional media heavy. Now we are more and more speaking with our consumers through social media, and that's become really important. But I think it's for us, it hasn't been about just kind of getting out there or looking at the numbers and saying, well, Facebook it is, and that's where everybody's going, but really thinking about like what's relevant and what's contextual to our consumers.
Hispanic consumers in the U.S. are the future in the market, so we definitely need to build our brands in order to continue being relevant, not just for the current generations, but for the generations to come. Why is the millennial consumer important for us? We have learned that the millennial consumer is the most influential consumer that there is. It's the more influential generation that there is right now. It's the one that has good income. They're starting their families, so they have in their households the next generations to come. So we really need to focus and speak to them in order to gain their loyalty, so we can ensure that our brands will continue to be relevant in the future.
We're really working with brands to tell those stories through content. And what we find is, again, especially when you talk about millennials and Latina millennials, they're looking for that content. They're looking for that value. So, when you're able to tell a brand story through content that's relevant, that is insightful, that again, reinforces their identity, that sparks their curiosity, that really is a recipe for success for any brand. And that's what we're seeing. And especially when you talk about, again, those social platforms where they're sharing information with those that are, special to them, or even when they are sharing information to reinforce who they are.
It's key to the success of a campaign or the success of a strategy overall to involve and make your media partners a very key part of
it's not just about having a Facebook presence or even Twitter presence, but really thinking about like for your category and for your brand, what's really relevant. So is it Pinterest? I mean, for baked goods and sweets, I mean Pinterest might be the strategy for you. And so it's really evaluating even some of the kind of up and coming. And I know that I think especially coming from a traditional company, we always want to make sure that we understand the targeting and are we really reaching Hispanics, but you can make the argument that while you may not have all of the information, that you're going to take the approach of what you know and what you have KPIs against, and then what you're going to test and learn.